Belina, and thanks so much for getting back to me with my or your thoughts regarding the level of intervention and the level of analysis, and of course the monitoring piece. So let me share with you some of the ideas that I try to mention in my communication and see if this helps uh, in the dialogue that we are engaged at this point in time. I have called this the analysis, the interventions, the scaling up rights and duties, because it has all those elements into the chart that I'm going to share with you. And I'm departing from this quote that you have here from the UN, where it calls that all programs of development cooperation, policies, and technical assistance should further the realization of human rights. And also it talks about the development cooperation contributes to the development of capacities of duty bearers and the right holders. So this is an important question as we go and engage in the development of different projects. Uh, so also how we measure, because I'm sure you know, when we are talking about rights and duties, the results are important, but processes are as important as the results. Engagement of people, involvement of authorities, involvement of participants, and so on and so forth. So, and let me do this from the perspective of having these two axes. On the left-hand side, you have the level, which is in reference to what level of people affected by poverty we're talking. Are we talking at the individual level, or are we talking at the family level? Are we talking at the community, or are we talking about about societies at a higher level? And then the number of children that are impacted based on the level that we talk about. So if we start with the individual child, that's at the individual level. But then if we go up a little bit, we will talk about the family of this child. We might also talk about the community, but as well the society in which this child is growing. So it goes higher and higher, and yes, we have moved from, I think, the child to a more community approach more and more. So then the question we are paused with is really how we have to design our interventions. And then I would say that our interventions, the first thing is that we have to design interventions either for societies or the micro level, and the analysis usually goes hand in hand with that. I know that the first thing that any of us will think in a presentation like this is that it's not either or, but we have to take into account both, and I will agree with that. But just for the sake of the presentation, I have made these dichotomies for our dialogue. On the other hand, is whether we are going to affect the individual level, the family level, the community level. We want to go higher and talk about the smaller governmental structures, and see how poverty are ingrained in decisions, in the policies that exist, in the enforcement of the law, and so on and so forth. And we can go up higher to the national governmental structure, and or do it at the state level. There are different levels in which we can work. So the first thing I will argue is that when we talk about we can talk about two things: design and interventions. How we both or manage both aspects. In terms of the design, I will argue that goes from macro societies to the individual level, and how behaviors are ingrained in at different levels of society that are that allow for poverty to reproduce over time. But then our interventions go in the opposite directions. It starts with the individuals, the family, communities, and move up to the smaller governmental structure, and perhaps sometimes to impact at the national level of structure. So from that perspective, I agree with you. We should look up higher in terms of the analysis that we have, but also when we are trying to look for children that are being impacted, not to stay just at the individual level, which was my argument. It seems like we want to collect information just on those kids that are enrolled, and not the participants of a project, but just the enrolled children. And that in a way is skewing the information. It's also sending a message that we probably are promoting, on the one hand, a more community approach that looks up the level in terms of how many kids are impacted by our interventions, but at the same time we want to measure just at the bottom, which is not all individuals, but just those who are enrolled. Anyway, wanted to share this with you. I hope that this is of help in the way of our dialogue and to further the discussion on this topic. Thank you very much. Have a good one now. Bye.